We have a 30-30-30 initiative where we reach 30 million people, giving them essential eye health care services. And we do that by raising $30 million, all by the end of 2030. That is our biggest strategic imperative for this year, moving forward through the next 5 years.
What does it feel like to make an impact not only on the world around you, but on the world at large? That's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to Women Leaders on the Move, a Her C-Suite radio podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Benamou, and every week I bring you inspirational stories and ideas to help you with the arc of your career and your life. I'm also the founder of Her C-Suite, where we focus on supporting women in the second half of your career with our portfolio career programs, helping you navigate what's next, decide if you're going to grow and scale a business, or if you want to land a corporate board role. It all happens at Her C-Suite. I hope you'll visit us today. My guest is Michelle Bockman. She's president and CEO of KeraX International, a nonprofit focused on reducing corneal blindness globally by expanding eye care accessibility. We talked today about all the ways that they are making an impact with their 30-30-30 plan. I can't wait for you to hear the details, so let's get started now. Michelle, I'm so excited to welcome you to Women Leaders on the Move today. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Natalie. I really appreciate you inviting me on and spending this time talking about all the things that we're working on.
I always like to start one question first, which is, how do we get to this moment today of what you're doing?
I'm a hands-on mechanical engineer from the Midwest. Kind of spent my time kind of doing first and then going, taking those learnings and building it into a leadership style, which is very much hands-on. And then as I progressed in my career, I ended up taking on more and more responsibility, whether it was leading P&Ls or leading service organizations. And then I am here now in a nonprofit, which is a lot different than anything I've ever done before.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that because I also have a nonprofit. So I understand that world outside of Her C-Suite. Her C-Suite is not a nonprofit, but I'm curious about the lead up in your corporate life that led to going into the nonprofit. What was that like, that journey? And how did you decide to move into this?
I grew up in more of a male-dominated industry, as an engineer, like I mentioned. So I naturally faced like challenges throughout my journey. And I persisted. I built my career that has spanned, I don't even want to tell you how long, but it's a long time. I'll leave it at that. And I've had very diverse leadership roles from Silicon Valley startups to Fortune 100 companies. And a few years ago, I came to the point where I was like, oh, what do I want to do with my life? And I spent a lot of time in the corporate world in healthcare. And I felt like there's a purpose when I was in the healthcare industry. And I hadn't been there for a while. And this opportunity came to me. And I was like, well, I don't know if it's right for me. And, I talked to the board a lot about it. And it ended up being something that ended up being very personal for me because I was going through some eye challenges myself. I had central serous retinopathy. So basically, I lost the central vision of my right eye. And this is all happening when I'm talking to them about this role. So it's really crazy. And so as I was going through the interview process, the current CEO, who's now the CTO, David Green, introduced me to some people, some folks over at Hopkins. And I got in right away. They diagnosed it, and they also found that I had cancer in my lower lid of my good eye. And so, all of this is going on. It felt very like the world was kind of shifting for me. And I felt like I needed to listen to it. And that's how I came to be here. And the other part of it is that as I came in as a business leader, I was taking this nonprofit that had been around for a long time. And there's a big journey, that KeraX's gone through to get where they are today. and they wanted to go to the next level, which is basically bringing in leadership, strong leadership, innovation, strategic thinking, operationalizing it. And those are all the skill sets that I have, building a team. And so our nonprofit isn't such a nonprofit. We actually have three different divisions. And so it looks very different than it did like a year and a half ago.
So talk to me about the 3 divisions. I'm curious, like how did that start and are they integrated? Is there it's all still the 3 divisions are all still under the nonprofit or is anything spun out into for profit?
Yeah, so we still have our nonprofit. And the way I like to think about CareLink is that we're trying to solve for blindness. Folks around the world in underserved communities don't have access to eye care. And you'd be surprised, like for you and I, we get a little dirt in our eye. We'll go to the ophthalmologist or the optometrist. They'll give us eye drops. We're good, right? People in India, people here in the US don't get that access. And if they don't, this little simple piece of dirt can actually turn into blindness. They could get keratitis, which is a corneal disease, and it's one of the diseases that we're trying to solve for through technology. So our one division is just going out into the communities and helping folks get screened. We have a program with a few other organizations where we support remote healthcare workers going from door to door doing screenings. And if there's an issue from the screening, they will actually shepherd them into the local eye camp or the local healthcare institute so they can be checked. So we are spearheading that program with a couple of other organizations. Then here locally in the US, that you would be surprised at how many children are in underserved populations and are just not getting glasses, eyewear. So as an example, there might be some government funding that allows them to be screened, but they may not have the funding to get them eyewear. And so I'll take a step back. The one division is nonprofit and it's around community based programs. The next one is a venture studio. It's where we are, it's called KeraX, and it's where we're developing technology, affordable technology, to take into these remote areas, these underserved communities where they can afford to use our technology, like, scanning an eye with a handheld, like your iPhone, scanning an eye and determine whether they have certain diseases and then being able to treat it right there on the spot with light therapy, all with a handheld that they can afford, like in India. And so that's one of the technologies we're developing. So KeraX is this venture studio. We develop technology, we go through a rigorous process, and then we'll spin out the company. And the spin out company then is a for profit. But the venture studio is solely owned by the nonprofit. And so it's not just technology. We actually decided to last year, we said, you know what? Let's find another way to bring in revenue to help with all of these wonderful things that we're doing. So we take donations, we go after grants, and we have KeraX where we're developing technology and we take grants there and then we go for funding when we start looking at the technologies to spin out. And then lastly, we developed keralink.com, which is our online eyewear store where you can go buy a pair of glasses and all the profits go back into Keralink, the nonprofit. So those are the three divisions: the program based or people based nonprofit, KeraX, the venture studio where we're developing really interesting technologies and spinning out businesses. And then lastly, the keralink.com eyewear business that brings all the profits back into the nonprofit. So it all kind of works together. It may sound complicated, but it's not. It's really straightforward in how we're trying to focus on our purpose of getting access to individuals in these countries, these communities that don't get it today.
I love that you are being so disruptive. My nonprofit's a baby compared to where you are, but we're about to do something really big. And what you're talking about is just my head is just like, oh my gosh, this is so innovative. I love it because you're not relying solely on, especially in today's world, right? Solely on donations is impossible. So going for these unique ways of multiple revenue streams of inbound That really is so intriguing and it's so personal. You being the leader of the organization, you personally had that experience. Strangely, but not strangely, I think things happen to us for a reason. So you were brought into that environment and you were able to thankfully get treated, it sounds like.
Yes, I'm good now. I actually have 20/20 vision. I go for checkups now every 6 months, so I'm in good shape.
Amazing. We don't realize when we have access to certain kinds of care and how simple something like getting something in your eye. And I'm sure everyone listening has probably had a situation where you go over to the local
Yeah.
like store that's like open more than the optometrist store. So you're just like, oh, I'll just go in and have them take a look. And they do, they give you drops and you generally everything goes pretty well unless something gets complicated. So we don't realize how lucky we are in that way. What have you seen when the door to door? I'm curious about that. How has that helped the community in other ways? Has there been a ripple effect? If you're getting care, maybe there's something else that might get discovered. I don't know, but I'm curious about that.
I think there's always a butterfly effect, right? And so when the program started, it was really thinking about the inpatient, the person at the end of the line. However, this movement is an initiative that they're mostly women. There's like 50, 60 women who've been trained, and these women are mostly mothers. A lot of them never had jobs before. It gave them a purpose, and so not only are we helping to give them kind of a bigger place in the household, leadership opportunities, and I think it's just kind of given them a little pep in the step. Like they feel like at least the people I've talked to feel like they have a more important role in the world. And so I would, when we talk about women leaders, I think about these women in this initiative. It's called ADIA workers. And so they're the ones who are the special ones going door to door and helping all these families be screened. And then they literally will help them get a bus ticket to take the bus. And they may even like walk with them if they need somebody to come along. So they're like saints. They're just amazing people.
I can only imagine. So when I was talking about the ripple effect, I was thinking more in the health of the individual, but even more so for children. If you can't see the board, if you can't see your piece of paper, you cannot learn. You're not able to learn if you're not able to, the information isn't coming into your brain. And so I can only imagine what a ripple effect that's having on those children to be able to then participate in a different way.
Yeah, we call our program Hometown Heroes. And we just had a program in Michigan, and the teachers gave us an idea of the children who needed to get screened, and we got them glasses, and they put the glasses on, and the words coming out of their mouths like, it's the first time I really saw my mom's face clearly, or it's the first time I can really see the board, because they were falling behind in their academics. And so you're absolutely right. We are, I mean, you talk about touching your heart. It's like, wow, kids, and giving them the opportunity. And then what I've learned with some adults, if they lose their sight in one eye and then it happens to happen in the other eye, then typically they feel like they have less self-worth. They stop working, they stop eating because they feel like they're not worthy enough to eat in the household. And a lot of them will die within 5 years. That's just the sad truth.
Wow.
Yeah, I had no idea until I started, researching this field and joining the company. And it's like all of these different things you learn that are just like I said, they tug at your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm from originally from Michigan, so when I hear that something happened in Michigan, that makes me very sentimental and happy that that was in my original hometown state, although I'm in Illinois for my adult life, more than 2 decades, I'll just say that. So, as you're thinking about the disruption piece, and I'm really curious about that, can you talk a little bit more about how that is integrating into the ecosystem that you've created? So, the companies that might be spinning off, what does that look like?
So today, because I talked about affordable technology, that's a big disruption. And going out, being able to have a handheld device, that is disruption. I come from industrial cybersecurity, 3D printing. I could go on and on. So I love, love, love disruptive technology and what can be done. And I think we all need to be disrupted. and it just pushes the purpose forward. And so, we have the technology with the AI. It's not out there yet, but we're developing and gathering images with partners all over the world and working on light therapies that do not harm individuals. And so that's one. One of our spinoff businesses is looking at an artificial cornea and developing that. And it's looking very positive right now. And so I'm excited about that one. And I'm on the board with that company called Pantheon Vision. And then we have several other technologies. I can't talk about a lot of them because they're still like in stealth mode, but it's all disrupting. And the fact is, if we can get these into doctors' hands or even disrupt it further, where you can get it into the hands of these audio workers, these female remote healthcare workers, then wow. I mean, that just changes everything. And that's why we have this 30-30-30 initiative. So our goal at CareLink is to get access to 30 million people. That's eye healthcare access to 30 million people by the end of 2030 by raising or in all these diverse ways, raising $30 million.
I love that 30-30-30. I mean, all these ideas are really innovative, big picture, big impact. And 30 million, if you think about 30 million people who had compromised eye challenges, that is a magnitude that you can't even imagine on the family, on the community, on the world. When people can see, it really makes a difference. And I know personally because my daughter had a rare brain condition and she almost went blind from it, from too much CSF fluid in her brain. She was going to be blind and we didn't know it. And I can't even imagine what that would have meant for her had that played out. We caught it in time, thankfully, but it tugs on my heart personally. I just thought I'd share because I know like how precious our sight is and you should never take it for granted. And then just the impact that you're making in communities is really tremendous. So thank you for that important work that you're doing. I think it's so important.
Thank you. And it's not like we just woke up one day and said, "Oh, this is what we want to do." CareLink's been around since the 1960s. And so they have the largest network of eye banks. You know how you used to sign on your driver's license that you would donate?
Yeah.
Well, the founder started that. He went state by state, getting the states to agree to put that on the back of the driver's license. Now I think it's a federal law, but he also developed all of these eye banks across the world. And it wasn't until a few years ago they said, you know what, we kind of felt like we eliminated the waiting lines for tissues in the US. So let's sell the eye banks and do something different. And that's what the rebirth of CareLink is that I'm leading.
Wow. Wow. So part of that 30-30-30, what does that look like? That's not that far.
No, it's not that far. That's why I said by the end of 2030, give me a good 5 years.
What are you excited about in that process? And what do you need for our listeners that might be able to help you in that way?
I think just execution, get our technologies out there, continue to help our communities with eyewear, these children who cannot see the board or see their mother's faces, and then all the work we're doing in India, like continuing to expand there, I think is really important. And buying eyewear from us on carolink.com because we're carolink.org, the nonprofit, but carolink.com is the eyewear. And so donations, or if there's grants around AI or any of the technologies in eye health, we're probably working on that. And so letting us know, but you can go to www.keralink.org, KeraLink.org, and there's a donation page there that would help us.
Absolutely. And I will have all of that in my show notes. As you look beyond even 20, I mean, it's hard to imagine once you hit that goal, then what does it look like for you? What is the bigger picture? I mean, if you can imagine a world where more people are seeing, what does that look like for you and your organization?
We had been focused just in cornea. And so, which is the outer layer of the eye. And so with eyewear, we kind of, we're taking another step to the side. I think continuing to figure out where we can make the biggest impact. Age related eye diseases are a big thing right now. diabetic retinopathy is a big thing. So as we successfully meet our goals, we'll continue to look for other ways and other communities that we can expand into. We probably Africa and maybe Latin America. So I want to keep our focus pretty narrow for now so we can be successful because as we all know, you do too many things and you don't necessarily get them all done at the right time or as good as it could be. And so right now we're really focused in India and US and a little bit in Nepal.
It's a big population in India, so you've got a lot of impact potential on a big scale, there, and how does it work with your board? So you have a board, nonprofits have boards. What is that dynamic like in terms of them understanding and supporting? Is that like, what is that system like for you?
Because we are a very diverse organization, we have folks with some fundraising experience, we have clinicians, we have people with medical experience. And so we've divided our board into different committees, like a clinical committee, and then we have the financial committee. And so we talk about investments and things like that. We just redid the bylaws. We've added a couple of new people to the board. So I love my board. They continue to push and ask all the hard questions that we have to answer. And they are doing this, on their own time. It's a volunteer board. And so they all have passion behind what we're doing, or they wouldn't be here. I think they're great and they continue to push us to doing bigger and better things.
Amazing, amazing. I am so glad that we had this opportunity to have this conversation. For you personally, we talked about corporate boards, and that's always an exciting space. And you've been on boards. So I'm excited for you in what you're looking to do in the future and serving on a corporate board in addition to all the things that you're doing. And I hope that everyone listening today, they'll follow the links. And I wear glasses. You can see I've got my glasses on. I'm going to go and look at your store. I can't wait to check it out and support you. But I'm really glad that we had this chance to have a conversation today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate all the work you are doing. I'm so impressed with everything you've done and you continue to do so. And it sounds like you have some new things coming. So I can't wait to hear about those.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for being here. I'm so glad that we had this conversation.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you for spending your time with us today. I especially loved this conversation with Michelle Bockman. I learned so much from her today, and I'm excited about my next conversation. If you found the information helpful, I really hope you'll visit all of the links that I have about Michelle and support her organization. I am also the founder and president of Her Health X, a nonprofit for women revolutionizing the way that women experience care and the conversation of care. And I hope that you'll visit Her Health X as well. As always, keep shining your light bright. The world needs you.